Welcome to the Man United Agenda. As you can see below Pat, it says the Man United Agenda members only show. And this is exclusive. This is just for me, you, and you guys watching right now. So tune in. We're going to have a little chit chat over a cup of tea. I was just thinking, Pat, when it says members only, it's like the doorman. Oi, you're not coming in, VIP only. That should be Mr. B, isn't it? Or we should have a poster of Mr. B at the door in his bouncer.
We should have seven Mr. B's above our head here. Boy, yeah.
So what's going on? This is like the members only show, exclusive for everyone who's a member to watch. It's myself and Pat. How you doing, Pat? We're gonna have a little chat. Let's bring up something. We're playing. What day is it today? It's the 23rd of January.
23rd, and we're playing Notts Forest on the 25th, I believe.
That's our next game. I don't want to talk about our last game. Do you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What game was that?
I completely forgot.
Yeah. My blood pressure's gone down, so.
Wow.
But, this is not only a member show, this is the first member show, guys. So it's just our way of giving back. Myself and OMONDI being able to show our personality, and because we can be a bit more relaxed. Look, I even have my own little mug of tea here while I'm sitting down. We can have a chat, a bit more relaxed. Not like, because sometimes you get a little bit nervous when we're on this show and we're doing our best. But this one now, it's just going to be, this is for the members. You get to see the real OMONDI Juma.
It's funny because I've just come in from work. I'm chilled. I'm rushing home to get my homework done, get the show done, all that kind of thing. I feel really relaxed. You really sort of calm me down, Pat. And we can do it in our own time. There's no pacing here. It's just me, you, and the members. Private members here. Playing Nottingham Forest. I mean, well done. They're back in the Premiership after what is it? I think it's 1999. They got relegated, didn't they? After Brian Clough, years after years of Brian Clough, big club Forest. I mean, we played them early in the season, but how are you feeling about this game, Forest and against Man U FA Cup? Because it reminds me of a few things, doesn't it?
Oh man,
Mark Robbins.
No, look, I am. Look, I'm actually. I always get nervous playing Notts Forest because they're such an established. Still are such an established club, such a well-respected club, run by one of the greatest managers that will ever grace the fields of England in Brian Clough. And no matter what league position they're in, you have to respect them because they can turn up on the day. And do you know what? They have a lot of new players in that squad, and they can click at any stage, and they can start turning over a few teams. And that'd be my fear playing these now, because every dog has the day in the cup of money.
Well, certainly. And sometimes when I think about Nottingham Forest, I mean, you're going back talking about Brian Clough, get nostalgic, don't you? I mean, wow, to win 2 European Cups in a row. They were established in the 80s. I remember they were battling Liverpool. They were always been a pass and move team, always on the ground. They developed great players. So many great players have come to that club. And
the academy,
Peter Taylor and Brian Clough had a great relationship. They were so successful together. But there's a guy above your head there who's just come to Man United, Casemiro. And people say football's developed, don't they? But when you go back and look at, like, Fergie nearly lost his job. Mark Robbins saved in the FA Cup. We win the FA Cup that year, 91, and then, or 1990, sorry, against Palace, and beating Forest on route with Mark Robbins saving the job. And then we get to the Premier League. The season before the Premier League, Leeds beat us to the title. Gordon Strachan coming back with Lee Chapman and Rod Wallace. That was a great side. A forgotten side, by the way. And then obviously the Premiership starts, and it was just great timing for us. We were ready to go. And Brian Robson finally gets his league title, which is well deserved and things. So 1992, wasn't it? 92, 93, the first season of the Premier League.
It wasn't a great one. It wasn't a great one for Notts Forest.
What? Oh God.
Notts Forest, 92, 93. Brian Clough, the legend. Unfortunately, they got relegated that year.
Wow.
They finished on 40 points. And for such an established manager, it goes to show how such the mighty could fall.
So we talk about Roy Keane.
Yeah, well, that's, you know what, you just got to it. What the good thing that came out after Manchester United at the end of the 92-93 season was that young Roy Keane was available, highly in demand, even though he was part of a relegated side, a very good relegated side, unfortunately. But yeah, Roy Keane. Jeez, man.
You're an Irishman. I mean, shame to represent here because he's from Cork, but obviously he's revered in Ireland, isn't he?
Well, you have Roy Keane. You didn't only have Roy Keane at that time. You had a fellow Cork man, and probably my favourite Manchester United player growing up. But I had a new favourite Manchester United player every week. But he would have never changed. And it was Dennis Irwin and Roy Keane.
Yeah.
But Roy Keane, what a man. Like, I remember, do you remember when he came to the club?
I know there was a bit of a lot of news, transfer news in the papers back then, not on social media. Yeah, I mean, what do you remember about that?
For those who don't remember, at the time, would you say Blackburn would be like the Chelsea of the league then, would they? Because they were big spenders, weren't
They came up from the lower division and they obviously had the money with their owner, and Kenny Dalglish became manager, didn't he? He took them over. I think their first season in the Premier came 4th or 5th, which is showed a lot of potential, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember Dalglish was in contact with Roy Keane. And this was on a Thursday or a Friday during the week. And they had a verbal agreement that Roy Keane would join. Roy Keane would join Blackburn from Notts Forest for about £400,000 a year, which was mega money at the time.
Now, someone's getting that every week.
Yeah, they get it every week now. Yeah, and when you hear it now, you're like, that was a year. Like when you think about it, right? They could have signed Roy Keane only for the Blackburn office closed for the weekend. So they had a verbal agreement, said, okay, look, see you Monday morning. Roy Keane's back in Cork, back with his family, back walking his dogs, as he always did. Who only steps in, slides in, moonwalks in, like Michael Jackson.
DMs. Oh, not DMs.
into his Bebo.
Hey, Jeb, baby. I don't know.
Into his MySpace.
Yeah.
He got McCall on MySpace. Boop, boop, boop.
Hey, it wasn't even MySpace, was it, back then? It was a long time ago. Maybe it was Amiga or something.
Yeah.
They got Telegram for Keane. Yeah.
It's probably a carrier pigeon or something, you know what I mean?
Oh, God.
But, like, in the space of that weekend, Kenny Dalglish went home. Jesus, he probably celebrated to rub his hands together.
Feet up. Guess what, love?
Wait till I tell your wife about this fella I'm after getting. Oh, wait till I tell you about him. And then turned up to work on Monday morning like a wet fish in the face. But I'll tell you how the story went. That weekend, Alex Ferguson flew Roy Keane over to his house, brought him into the house. Nice bit of food, little glass of wine, had a game of snooker. Convinced Roy Keane to join Manchester United that weekend. And Roy Keane's biggest problem was, how am I going to tell Kenny Dalglish? And can you imagine Alex Ferguson's response? The Scouser? No, I don't care. You can tell him what you like.
Yeah.
Now, at the time, as I said already, Blackburn were offering Roy Keane $400,000 a year, but Manchester United couldn't offer him that same kind of money. Yeah. They only offered him $350,000 a year. And what did he do? He took it, as you know, and the rest is history. But now, this is fly on the wall stuff, but you'd love to be there. Kenny Dalglish's exact words were, he as in Keane, he wouldn't get away with this. Could you imagine it? It'd be like Kevin Keegan the year. I love it. He will never get away with this. And I can only just imagine. Can you imagine Ferguson sitting back, knowing this is all unraveling on a Monday morning, chuckling away on the sofa?
1-0 Fergie.
Yeah, 1-0 Fergie.
Fergie knew that Blackburn were on the up and they had spending money. It was Jack Walker was their owner. He was splashing out cash. They'd just come up. But the attraction of Manchester United compared to Blackburn was a big difference. They had a good team and they were on the cusp of bigging up, as we saw the next couple of years to come. They really sort of took it to the Prem. But
Tim Flowers, Batty, Sherwood,
yeah,
Sutton, Colin
yeah.
Hendry, Henning Berg was there as well.
Sutton, he came from Norwich, didn't he? So they were buying from these times. You weren't buying foreign players really, only a couple of Scandinavians, but it tended to be British players coming through. Colin Hendry, fantastic by the way, for Blackburn.
Yeah.
But just to say, so imagine that. I think they got one over on us years later when they got Shearer, didn't they? I think that was a payback. But we're not. I mean, they're here. Forest, man, Forest relegated. Wow, it's amazing. I remember 1991. I think Roy Keane, when they played Tottenham in the cup final, when Gazza and Gary Charles clashed, and Gazza was out the final, and Stuart Pearce scored a brilliant free kick, and they ended up losing. I think it was an own goal. Was it Des Walker, Gary Mabbitt? Oh, it doesn't matter. But yeah,
Gary
it's like
Mabbitt.
Yeah, Mabbitt. Diabetes, Mabbitt. I'm saying diabetes. Yeah, he walked through that. Now, fair play to him. But yeah, so Roy Keane, I mean, he was coming in. What's the attraction? Because obviously we won the league. They got relegated. We'd won the league. We're in the Champions League. That was an attraction. Maybe that was a good selling point. We're Man United as well. Good selling point. And then he's got Brian Robson, 36-year-old Brian Robson. And one thing I'm going to say to you, Pat, about this is like, that's one of the best. The way you told the story just reminds you, it's a fantastic story, But that's got to be one of the best signings because there's no gaps. You've got a great player like Brian Robson, who's, to me, the best number 7, the greatest captain we've ever had. And it's just without the trophies and what kind of thing, a few FA Cups, that's all. But fantastic player, my hero growing up. For him to get to 36, finally win his title with Fergie, knowing that he can't really go on that much further. He's obviously won the European Cup Winners' Cup as well against Barcelona. Man of the match for me in that game. And then there's no gap where you're waiting for the next Brian Robson to come through. He bought him. That's, crossover with Roy Keane, Brian Robson, and Paul Ince in that midfield. Fantastic. Me, the governor, Paul Ince, was a legend to me at the time. And I always thought, watching the games back then, Roy Keane, he's not bad, but Ince is the boss. Ince is the governor out there. And I didn't ever comprehend why we would sell Ince and bring Keane in. I didn't know about Nicky Butt. I didn't know about all these other guys coming through as well.
Nicky Butt and David Beckham were in the squad that year before he came. Now, obviously, he never played, but they were in the squad. But for all the Man United agenda people who are watching this at the moment, who just only might know about Manchester United since 2000 and forward, what hurt myself and everybody else, the way our club's been run for the last 10, 15 years is we used to always bring in somebody to replace somebody and move somebody on. And the last 10 years, we haven't seen that. So when Captain Marvel, Brian Robson, he was unbelievable. People think Roy Keane was good. Brian Robson was absolutely fantastic.
Better. He was better. Yeah. What do you think, guys?
You can't have an Irishman say that now. Come on, Roy Keane didn't have to get a ferry or a plane. He just walked across the water from Cork all the way over to Manchester. So but when you think about it, the transition from Robson to Keane, it was just unbelievable, And he wasn't even the biggest player in the club. He was. I saw Manchester United play in Shelbourne Park, against Shelbourne Football Club, and when I was a kid, and I remember meeting Eric Cantona and Peter Schmeichel, and it was like walking around in the land of the giants, All of a sudden the sun's blocked out, and Eric Cantona walks.
Gulliver's Travels.
I mean, and these weren't just. You think they look big on the television, but they were big men. They were big shoulders, were big this, and Roy Keane was nowhere near as big as these guys, but he was growing into that monstrosity of a match-winning beast in the background, and he was took over from Robson, but he was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it wasn't until all the legends like Schmeichel and Cantona started to fade away that he just excelled into that leader.
Well, I think it's to do with Ince. When Ince left, that was like, why are you getting rid of Ince? Because Roy Keane's coming through. But I never saw the qualities of Roy Keane. I didn't understand the game when I was so young to see that. I saw Ince dynamic, his personality, but Roy Keane just kept his head down, got on with his job. Just so that's the lovely connection between Forest and Man United with Roy Keane. But we also had Neil Webb as well, came from him. Gary Birtles came through as well. But Neil Webb was a more cultured player, but he got a lot of injuries for us. He ended up going back to Nottingham Forest, but that was the better deal. Roy Keane, fantastic, 3.6 million. I remember that was a record transfer signing for a British player at the time.
British, yeah. British record, British transfer record.
So
crazy now when you think about it.
Roy Keane's coming to a side that plays 4-4-2. Obviously, back then we were marauding. We had two centre midfielders and no DMs, no Retistas or whatever. It was just two centre midfielders, tough guys battling out, and two wide men, which would be, we had Giggs coming into the side back then, Lee Sharp as well, and on the right,
Andre Kanchelskis and Keith Gillespie.
Wow, yeah, Keith Gillespie was there as well, you know. Magnificent, isn't it? It's very simple. And two guys up front. You had McClare was playing in midfield a lot of the time, but he was also the player up front. He was our top goal scorer in his first opening couple of seasons. And Mark Hughes, Sparky, who came back to the club. That's a great team. And going back to that point, like we had Pete Schmeichel. Obviously, we know Pete Schmeichel was there at the time after the Denmark 92 win-in. He was great keeper for us, took us all the way to the Champions League, and then he left. But we didn't replace him. There wasn't like the Brian Robson change of the guard to Roy Keane replacement. We had to go through Bosnich and all these other players until we got to Van der Sar. Yeah. We had Barthez.
Van der Sar. We knew the difference when Van der Sar came into this club. And I'll tell you one thing. Yeah. He's another player we need to do a show on one day is Van der Sar. People don't realize.
You know what? I want to do versus shows where we can bump heads and say, who's better, Van der Sar or Schmeichel? Actually, that's a good show. Or who was harder, Brian Robson or Paul Ince, or Brian Robson or our man Keno? I don't know. These put it in. Suggest to us, guys, if you're watching. What should we?
I tell you what, be a good one. Vidic and Martinez. Vidic and Martinez. Who would be better by the time Martinez finishes his career?
I think Vidic is bigger than him. That's the straight way I'm thinking Vidic. But then actually I'm thinking, hold on a minute, Martinez might bite him. You know, it was like no holds barred. Vidic might think, right, I'm going to grab you. But Martin's like, there's crazy things going on in my head about this fight. There's so many variables. But yeah, these guys are tough. These guys are tough. Just
who would outclass each other? Like Varane or Rio Ferdinand. Such similar defenders, isn't he?
I'll leave that to that's worthy discussion. I've got my opinion straight away. I said I'm thinking no.
That's a good one. That's another one.
Worthy discussion, no doubt about it. Hardest guy in these times that we've seen. There's so many good things to talk about. But yeah, as a member of the show, you will sit down with us, put the kettle on, and join us. But I think that's a great story about Kenny Dalglish. I remember Brian Clough when Roy Keane left. He was saying, "Are you greedy? So and so, you know, going for the money." And all that kind of thing. But he actually didn't go for the money. I didn't know what Pat just said. Didn't actually go for money. He could have got more at Blackburn, as you said. So there you go, Brian Clough. Smoke that one. And thing. But yeah, like I say, I mean, when you look at it, Pat, we're talking about, I mentioned Casemiro earlier above you. He's someone who's shown a lot of qualities, but this sort of, it's a dying art, these great midfielders that can do a bit of everything. Brian Robson, Roy Keane, Paul Ince, these sort of guys, magnificent players. If they were playing today, they would be running the show. And they used to run the show back then in a two-man midfield and go into war against other sides. You know,
and there is players out there. Like if there's players like Manchester United obviously signed Casemiro because he has a legacy of being an absolute superstar. Yeah. But he obviously fits the mold of the type of player that Erik ten Hag wants. So if Erik ten Hag is going to be saying to himself, okay, 3 years, I'm going to be looking at the decline of Casemiro, we're going to have to get somebody in here. I would like to get him in here now and next year. And let's just say, for example, it's Charlie Savage, right? I'm going to get Charlie Savage to mirror everything Casemiro does for the next 3 years, that he fits into the mold. And that's what we should be doing now, is getting Charlie Savage with a virtual reality goggles on his face, watching endless hours of Casemiro and Roy Keane every night until he just mutates into one of them.
And not just that, but watching how he conducts himself as a professional. Very important. I think a lot of it's mental. As we saw yesterday with that game, devastating game. But I think it was mental lapses that we had, and we needed someone with big character out there like Casemiro to lead the men out there. So yeah, I love that. I love that. But we're playing Forest. It's going to be a good game. Hopefully we would have won and gone through the next round. It's been a good season so far. I'm happy, and I'm happy with his members shows, exclusive, just to us, pay-per-view, guys. So make sure you tune in, and yeah, don't tell anyone about what we're discussing here. It's all secret, guys. Remember, it's all a secret, and this is exclusive just to you, just to you. So just tune in. That's right.
it. Myself and OMONDI and the lads are going to be pumping out 1 or 2 of these every week now. And if there's anything, like, hit us up in the comments after this. If there's anything that you particularly like to talk about, any players, any era, any players that could have done more for the club, even just for example, Carlos Tevez, if he comes to your mind, he could have done so much more for Manchester United, except for becoming one of the most hated victims by going to City. Anything like that, hit us up in the comments, let us know, and we'll do a discussion on that next week.
Good shout.
That's what it's all about.
I enjoyed this. I'm going to go now and have a cup of tea, because you made me kind of thirsty with you drinking herbal tea.
Yeah, man.
That's cool, man. You're so cool, Pat. Nothing phases you. You know, as I said, I'm going through a diet right now, and I'm edgy. I'm really edgy, but I feel so much more relaxed sitting down on the sofa with you. So I will see you again very soon, hopefully, on the members show. So don't tell anyone about it. Okay, guys, we'll see you very soon, and thanks for tuning in. From Pat, from myself, from Casemiro there, smiling with cheeky face. See you later.